everybody, and welcome to this Friday show. The 9th day of January has been another cold one, and on that note, temperatures in the forecast period are even colder than they were 24 hours ago. We've got Arctic air pushing in tonight. Temperatures back down into the single digits, and that's before you factor a light wind. Fortunately, a much lighter wind that's in the forecast that will put wind chill factors closer to the 0 mark. We'll also be talking about, in updates tonight, just some disheartening news as it relates to a victim of a home invasion several weeks ago here close to the newsroom. Also an update from Magoffin County School Superintendent Stanley Holbrook. I received some information about, it was my understanding initially that the Board of Education was dealing with a higher bid for the Magoffin County High School gymnasium to be constructed, and that funds were not going to be plentiful enough, if you will, to support funding for the new baseball and softball complex. He'll enlighten us on that entire situation. I've got a little bit of good news for some folks who got a check today, a little bit of PR we want to pass along, some basketball scores, an update on the ongoing election fraud case filed by Republican Magoffin County Judge Executive candidate John Montgomery, and much, much more. The list does indeed go on. Before I leave you for what is going to be a cold but clear and calm weekend for the most part, we do have another chance of precipitation rolling in Sunday night and into your Monday, and that's when we have to deal with the words rain and sleet, and then some rain on the back end again. We'll get to all of that in just a few moments. House Speaker Greg Stumbo filed a bill today to authorize the state of Kentucky to borrow about $3.3 billion through bonds for Kentucky's teacher retirement system. Once issued, Stumbo says that Kentucky will be able to make its full recommended contribution to the retirement system for 8 years in a row, after which the $18 billion pension and insurance funds should be on a solid ground. As it stands, the funds only have a little more than 50% of the assets that are needed for future payments to more than 141,000 enrollees. That includes Kentucky school teachers, as well as several thousand public university and state educational agency officials, or employees, I should say. Not everyone thinks it's a wise decision, however. Kentucky.com quoted Chris Tobe. He is a former board member of the Kentucky retirement system and a financial consultant in Kentucky as well. He says that basically it's a shell game, given the legislature's history of ignoring its annual obligation to the state's pension systems. It's risky for taxpayers to borrow billions of dollars for a bailout. The state, according to the report at Kentucky.com, says it paid $722 million into the retirement system last year in 2014 in the form of employer contributions. Teachers paid in $440 million through paycheck withholding. However, the retirement system officials say the state stopped making its full recommended contributions in 2008, leading to annual shortfalls that have amounted to several $100 million. We'll begin our first local headlines with follow-ups tonight, beginning with the Justice Center in Magoffin County. The cleanup was continuing today. They were open for business in regards to the circuit clerk's office, and court looks to be on tap for at least Monday of next week and possibly a few days thereafter.
Well, it's a site that I can tell you has changed. But this was the site yesterday, just about, well, an hour or so, possibly, maybe a little less, after sprinkler head and then two malfunctioned, they believe possibly due to freezing and maybe some other issues, maybe all kind of combined for a perfect storm, if you will. Nevertheless, Judge Marshall was just about to take the bench upstairs, that is, when one of the sprinkler heads gave way. One of the Justice Center security guards and a deputy was just happening to be into the hallway checking a leak, a dripping leak that they had remedied with placing. The maintenance crew had placed some buckets or trash cans, if you will, to catch those drips throughout the morning hours. But then all of a sudden, those drips gave way and thousands of gallons of water came rushing from the second floor, actually the ceiling over the second floor, and then making its way down to the ground level. And this is the hallway where it all began, a couple of trash cans catching what was just thought to be a few little small leaks. But then two sprinkler heads, as I said, gave way. They are supplied by a 6-inch main into the 2-inch sprinkler pipes.
Came in, there was a small leak. We had a couple of trash cans sitting back here. One of our officers came up when Judge Marshall was on the bench. As he walked through the hallway, I guess one of the sprinkler system burst.
Did he describe to you the amount of water that was initially coming out and then the amount of water that came out when it really gave way?
He said it was like a waterfall.
A waterfall indeed. So here's the status. I placed a phone call just a few moments ago. The ServPro company was still cleaning up. They spent several hours there into the late night hours last night. There is all of the equipment in the district courtroom, which was just basically destroyed. That's the video arraignment system, their recorders, computers, all the audio equipment, which will have to be replaced. The AOC was in McGoffin County today. They're coming back Monday. No timeline given as to when that will be done, but it is questionable that they'll be down sometime in the district courtroom. District Court will be meeting in the family courtroom on this coming Monday. There was no court set for this coming Tuesday. District Court will go on as scheduled on Wednesday. It will happen once again in the family courtroom. Thursday, though, is the big day in question when family and circuit court are both slated, and that is always a busy day in the Justice Center. So they'll have the first 3 days of next week to try to see if they can get one of the other courtrooms back up and running, and then I'll keep you up to date from thereafter. But the circuit clerk's office, as was today, will be open as crews continue to clean up, and still no estimates on the amount of damage left behind.
It was this past September that two men broke into or forced their way into the home belonging to Orville and Hazel Adams over in Middle Creek, just across the McGoffin-Floyd County line. A report that we closely followed right up to the arrest after the indictments of the two suspects, who still remain jailed on $1 million full cash bonds each. Tonight, though, an update in the report brings some very saddening and disheartening news.
It was during some beautiful fall weather that a horrific situation took place at the Adams' home on Middle Creek on Kentucky 114. Two men forced their way into their home, tied them up in their kitchen chairs with electrical tape, then threatened their lives violently and repeatedly for more or about an hour while they completely ransacked the Adams' home, taking any belongings that they saw worth anything, including an ATV, jewelry, other personal belongings that they had had some for most of their life. They then fled the scene in a small black pickup truck that was seen parked alongside 114, and after a thorough investigation on behalf of the Kentucky State Police, both men were arrested. They're still jailed. Tanner Spears in the Floyd County Detention Center at the age of 21, Jonathan Austin Weddington at the age of 23 in the Pikeville Detention Center. The news we have tonight is not about the suspects, but about Orville Adams. In an effort to keep you up to date on our friends, he's had a severe or major heart attack. We understand that he was taken to the Pikeville Medical Center and is currently in the intensive care unit. Doctors there have also confirmed that he has had several heart attacks over the past few weeks and possibly months. Now, while there's no way to know at this point, from my understanding, it would be a safe assumption that all the stress either from that night and or the events thereafter would have played a role in his health condition. We wish him well. We wish him a safe recovery. Hazel is closely by his side, as is a host of other family and dear friends. But for now, we're wishing him the best and keeping him in our prayers. While once again, the two individuals responsible for that home invasion and others remain jailed, both on $1 million cash bonds, both facing robbery and kidnapping charges after being indicted by the Floyd County grand jury.
In another update this evening, one that will not be the last, as the case is now officially ongoing, as we're reporting tonight on the latest request for dismissal of the case filed by McGoffin County Judge Executive candidate John Montgomery.
This, I believe, is the second request for dismissal of the case filed on behalf of McGoffin County Judge Executive Charles Hardin, in which it was taken into consideration by Judge John David Preston, the special judge appointed to the case after the recusal of Kim Childers. It was denied on this second occasion after a response to the dismissal petition was filed on behalf of Montgomery. His response to the request of the case being dismissed by Hardin was based on several different facts, including that he says there were several irregularities that affected the fairness and equality of the election, that the judge executive election suffered from those irregularities when voters cast their votes by machine and absentee, and many poll workers in numerous polling places failed to initial that they had confirmed their identity. that people who were ineligible to vote had vote or cast ballots in the election, and given the overwhelming majority in which Hardin carried the absentee vote and the extraordinary high percentage of absentee votes cast in comparison to the general election as a whole, and that also there was exchanged consideration such as paving work, graveling, cash, and other incentives given on behalf of Hardin for various votes in the election. As I understand, the trial is still set to begin on February the 2nd.
I sat down for the following interview with Magafa County Schools Superintendent Stanley Holbrook earlier this afternoon, specifically to ask him about some information that I had received indicating the Board of Education was going to have to scrap the softball and baseball fields complex to sit on the former site of the Harold Whitaker Middle School in lieu of the fact that the new Magafa County High School gymnasium had come in some $5 million over bid, and there wasn't going to be enough money to complete the complex at the old middle school site.
In this interview, Holbrook says that's not the case. While the bids for the new high school gymnasium were not satisfactory, it's closer to a $500,000 difference at this time that he says the school board will be able to easily adjust for.
Hardly any that's correct at this time. We've awarded the educational part of the school, which is $23 million. And then we bid at the gym, and we only got 2 bids. And they came in, I guess, quite a bit higher, 500, 600,000 more than we wanted them. So what we'll do is we'll make some changes in those prints. And our changes is going to be to try to save us a little bit of money, but it's also to entice more bidders, because we only had 2 bids. So we're making those changes. And our bids last time, even with the soft costs and everything added on it, come out to about 6.9. Well, we've got 8.4 million to build the gym, the baseball, and the softball. So there's money there for baseball and softball. It's just, when you get ready to do a project, you want every available dollar so that when you bid it, you get your money's worth. You don't want to bid 3/4 of it, and then turn around next year and try to add 3/4 back on. You want to get the best project you can for the value of your dollar. So we'll rebid the gym again. We made some changes and on the foundations, and we had a foundation in another package. We brought in this package because people like to pour foundations for some reason. I don't know exactly what the reason why, but you get more bidders as the foundations are included. So we're going to put that in there and try to get that number down some. So if I get that number down some and make some changes, for example, when I built my house over on Coon Creek, and you can put a $2,000 door to your house or a $200 door into your house. You can make some changes in the blueprints that will offset some cost and raise it up, because we don't want to bid this baseball and softball until after we've accepted the bids on the gymnasium itself. So the money's there. It's just that we just can't go to one until we finish the other.
The Magafa County Board of Education will have to meet and approve any and all changes, as will the Kentucky Department of Education. Holbrook says they're also in the process of getting approval for funding for furniture for the new school, as well as equipment and supplies such as computers and smart boards for each and every classroom. Over $1 million just alone for those items, mostly paid for in interest drawn on money for the construction project that is gaining 0.3% interest until it's time to be applied towards the project. But all in all, he says everything is still on par.
I'll have everything in line, everything going right on schedule. You'll have some snow days and some cold days and construction this time of year, but then this summer, when they hire 20 block layers instead of 10, they'll gain all those days back. That's kind of how it works. And so it'll be slowed down during the winter and it'll speed up in the summer. But everything's on schedule. And funding's on schedule, money's coming in, and we just got to get this gym to where we want it, and then after we get the gym to where we want it, then we'll start awarding baseball and softball.
In some other news that may come to the delight of a lot of football fans, parking was an issue, and it appeared as there was going to be no solution. It actually goes back to what was determined by the state, I believe it would be on that level, to be a prehistoric landslide in an area of the hillside that they could not remove to make any more room for any parking. So they've been parking as they did all football season down the lower level and busing students up. The Board of Education is currently looking at plans at one way to help remedy that to some degree. The tennis courts for the Montgomery County High School were planned on and slated to be behind the football field. They are currently looking at the cost of what it would take to relocate those courts instead of having them there down to where the site would be for the new baseball and softball complex. Not too much of a cost, you would imagine. The only real cost will be the change in blueprints, which may be significant, but they are hoping to find some other cost-saving measures to help them be able to offset that and thus allow for the parking of maybe 40 to 50 other vehicles at the football field site. Now it's time for community calendar announcements, starting off with a birthday wish. This birthday wish going out to her best friend, it says, to Linda Lou Bryant, from Tanya Shepard, your husband Bob, son Bobby, son Josh, a whole lot of family and friends. Happy birthday today to Linda Lou. A reminder, the Montgomery County High School dance team has a fundraiser that you want to get in on and be a part. Now, I had high hopes, and they're starting to fade. I had some problems here, and it's putting the show a little late on one of the feeds, but of catching the home game tonight. The Lady Hornets are playing here at home tonight. It's going to be a good opportunity for anyone there to see a dance team member and take a chance on winning 4 tickets to the UK-Georgia game February the 3rd. 2 upper seats, 2 lower seats, all compliments of C&R Ashland Office Supply donated to the dance team. If you know a dance team member, you're at a game, get a chance to win. Help support their fundraiser and get in on the chance to win 4 really great seats. I'll get some contact information for you and a phone number to call in case you're not going to be at a game or see a dance team member very soon. But for now, keep in mind, get your tickets if you can. Remember, this Monday, it's time to weigh down Montgomery County and become their next biggest loser at the Montgomery County Extension Service every Monday through the end of February. It's their annual event, getting fit, eating good, giving you tips and tricks on how to do it all, and it starts Monday at 5:30 all the way through the end of February. They'll weigh in just before the meeting. Call 349-3216 to find out more. And one last reminder, family movie night is this weekend. It's tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock at Kearney Free Will Baptist Church. Pastor Butch Whitaker and everyone invites you to come and join them. They're going to watch Heaven is Real, and they'd like to have you with them. Family movie night tomorrow at 6 at Kearney Free Will. And if you've got a birthday, an anniversary, or an announcement just like you heard, send it to me. Let me tell everybody. It's free, and it's just as easy as getting it to me right here, any way you'd like. Or you can always drop it off at the newsroom on East Maple Street in Sagersville. Turning to funeral service announcements, we have services to be held in honor of 50-year-old Elizabeth Ann Gamble starting tomorrow at 1. She was the daughter of the late Ray and Ivory Gamble, survived by 4 brothers and 10 sisters. Visitation continues this evening and up until services tomorrow at 1, all of which from the Montgomery County Funeral Home Chapel. And we've also have services this evening for 72-year-old Holland Helton of Hensley Road. He passed away on the 7th. He's survived by his wife, Martha, also sons John Lacey and Joe Douglas Helton, and a daughter, Catherine Sue Ross. Visitations this evening and tomorrow. Services start Sunday afternoon at 2, all of which from the Montgomery County Funeral Home Chapel. Burial will follow services at the Garland Joe Helton Cemetery on Lick Creek. And our last announcement this evening comes in loving memory of Charles Minix on what would have been his birthday. Greatly loved and sadly missed by a host of family and friends.
Well, here's a little good news, more than a little good news, several $100s worth of good news, as a check was presented today to Montgomery County Rescue Squad Captain Carter Conley from our Sagersville Dairy Queen, who for the past few years, this makes the 3rd in a row, has included them in on their annual New Year's Eve customer appreciation sale. James and Amanda tell us that it was another successful year. James does all the talking, telling us that it was another successful year, not just for the folks at Dairy Queen, but also for the Rescue Squad.
For the past 10 years or so, Dairy Queen has been doing a customer appreciation sale. And for the past 3 years, they've been honoring the Rescue Squad with plus $1. This year, we'd like to present a check to Carter Conley and the Rescue Squad for $840.41.
Thank you very much, and we really appreciate Dairy Queen for doing this. It's helping us in the middle of the year when fundraising is very hard. We have equipment breakdown, and this will go to help keep the equipment going 24/7, 365 days.
All in all, we had 841 transactions, and we'd like to thank everybody for coming out and supporting Dairy Queen and the Rescue Squad, and hope to see you next year.
It's the one day that Dairy Queen takes out of the year just to say thanks for all of your business, and it was a lot of thanks. 683 chicken strip baskets on New Year's Day, 147 footlongs, that's 147 feet of hot dog, and 396 blizzards and hundreds of other items, and we wanted to say thank you, not just in addition to being a part of the sale, but for your support of the Magoffin County Rescue Squad. Every order is half off, but with the exception of an additional $1. Customers can opt out of that extra $1 if they want. No one ever does, and it helped raise several $100s for the Rescue Squad. Speaking of which, also, more importantly, has big numbers to boast of itself. And while they would like to see zeros in all of these columns, or most of them at least, they know it's not a reality. The Magoffin County Rescue Squad responded to 261 calls of emergency last year. That is one of the biggest totals they've had for the past several years. 22,760 man-hours spent on those emergency calls by all the volunteers, and they are all volunteers. They also picked up 605 training hours throughout the year of 2014 as well. So that $841. So it's certainly something that we should be recognized, or they should be recognized for, and we should be thankful for.
And lastly, before your updated weather forecast, that is, some high school basketball scores from around the viewing area. Sadly, I have yet to take in a single high school basketball game. There's been a lot of road games in my defense, but there's also been a lot of renovation going on here at the newsroom. Some of the fruits of my labors you'll start to see in the oncoming weeks possibly. But nevertheless, I'm hopeful to make it to a home game tonight and have some highlights for you next week. In lieu of all that, though, let's get caught up on where everyone is approaching the midway mark of the season.
Starting off with Coach Tommy McKenzie and his Johnson Central Golden Eagles, the boys have picked up 7 in a row. They also have 7 losses, but 11 wins, 11-7, but 7 in a row. They're also, after last night's win over Belfry at 88-65, looking towards Paintsville. They'll be at Paintsville this Tuesday. The Golden Eagles at 11-7, 5-1 in regional action, and they're even 2 games right now, 1-1 in district play. Once again, they'll be at Paintsville this coming Tuesday. I'll get to Paintsville in a second. As for the Lady Eagles and Coach Darren Rice, 5-8 on the season. They're a few games behind even, or 1.5 behind even, technically. A loss to Fleming County by 5 on the 3rd. They've been off for a few days, but they are at Magoffin County tonight. That's right, Magoffin County hosting the Lady Eagles tonight. Tip-off set for 7:30. And once again, the Lady Eagles at 5-8. They're 0-1 in district play, and they're once again taking on the Lady Hornets tonight. I'll get to the Lady Hornets in just a few moments. Magoffin County and the boys and Coach Robbie Russell are even right now after a loss to Johnson Central High School 58-70. That came on January the 2nd. They've had a few days to rest. They're at Powell County tomorrow on the road, looking to go above 500. They're 5-4 in regional action, 1-1 in district play, and that's once again after a loss to Johnson Central High School. And they are once again at Powell County on the road tomorrow, trying to get above the even mark. As for the Lady Hornets, who I said are hosting Johnson Central tonight at 7:30, well, they're behind at 5-6. This is after a win over East Ridge, 60-40 was the final score on the road on Saturday night. They've been off for a few days, so they should be rested up and raring to go tonight. Tip-off set for 7:30. They are winless in district play this far into the season at 0-2. They're not quite to the halfway mark. Still a few games to go before the halfway mark for the Magoffin County Lady Hornets, but Coach Scott Castle and his girls at 5-6. Paintsville, Coach Bill Mike Runyon and his Tigers, a loss to Pikeville, 44-53. That was on the night of Tuesday of this week. Puts them at 9-6 on the season. They are still winless in district play, 0-3. They've got 3 losses in district action. They are hosting Johnson Central High School, as I said, on Tuesday of next week, looking to go for 10 wins. They picked up several wins early, and they've had kind of a sporadic season thereafter, but nevertheless are ahead of the game at 9-6. The Lady Tigers, Coach Mark Baldwin, a loss to East Ridge at the Eastern Kentucky Exposition Center in the 15th Region All-A Classic on on Wednesday night of this week, puts the girls from Paintsville at 8-5. Puts them undefeated in district play this far with 2 wins and 0 losses. That also puts them hosting Russell this coming Wednesday. So they're off for the course of the weekend and early next week. And they'll be back in action on Wednesday hosting Russell at an 8-5 record thus far into the season. And down in Morgan County, Coach Perry and his Cougars having a good season. 9 wins, only 3 losses. For Morgan County, this comes after a pretty big loss to Elliott County on the road last night. Nevertheless, they're at 9-3. 1 win, 2 losses in district play. They've got the rest of the weekend off. They're hosting Fleming County on Tuesday night, but Coach Perry and his Cougars off to a good start, still a little way away from the halfway mark on the season, but 9-3 thus far. The Lady Cougars are having a hard go of it. They've got 1 win and 11 losses. 40-59 was their last contest against Rowan County. That was just a few nights ago. They'll be they're hosting Elliott County they're hosting Elliott County tonight at 7:30, as a matter of fact. 7:30 tonight, hosting Elliott County, looking for their second win on the season. Jeffrey Brown and his Lady Cougars. And now to put the lid on this week's programming and tonight's show with your Licking Valley RECC forecast. We're going to plummet tonight back down to 5 degrees, mostly clear skies. Good news is, if there is any, amongst all this Arctic air mass, west winds 5 miles per hour becoming aught and becoming calm throughout the evening. Wind chill factors eventually not going to be a factor, but it's still factoring to be a cold, cold night with single-digit temperatures. Right now at 24 degrees and falling after a daytime high of 33 here at the newsroom. That is early show temperatures, mind you. Tomorrow we'll pick up a few degrees, going all the way up to a sunny 25, a light southwest wind. Really not a whole lot to speak of. That is a good thing. It's going to be clear, relatively calm winds, and it's going to be cold. 25 for your high, 14 for your low. Dare I say that's an improvement. Not as much as Sunday, though. Sunday we're expecting to see increasing clouds and a high of 42 degrees, a low of 34. It's the first of a couple of chances of precipitation. Sunday, increasing clouds throughout the day, then a chance of rain and sleet before midnight, and then a chance of rain thereafter. We will see some precipitation. That 50% actually has increased to about a 80% shot right now, and a great likelihood of some showers, sleet, and rain during the overnight. We'll start off Monday of next week with that rain lingering into your first day of the week. 42 degrees, which is going to be much more favorable than the 20s and teens. A low of 25, which has been kind of like it will be like tomorrow's daytime high. Nevertheless, Monday, a chance of some rain during the day. We might see a little changeover and some mix during the night on Monday night. That will be the last hit of winter for a day or two after that wintry mix. Tuesday, mostly cloudy and a high of 33. Just mostly cloudy, start to finish. Calm, no precipitation, mostly cloudy. A high right around freezing, a low well below it at 24 degrees Tuesday night. Our next setup for some precipitation and winter weather maker comes in Wednesday. Another system will give us mostly cloudy skies, 38, and late Wednesday night, a 20% chance of some snow showers, and a low of 26. That 20% threat of some showers in the form of snow will continue into your Thursday, with temperatures hanging around the 38-degree mark. Once again, partly cloudy skies that night. Things start to clear off Thursday night and into your Friday of next week, after which we see the 30s for a few days on end. Once again, an improvement. Tonight's the real last night of real severe Arctic air. Keep in mind, 14 degrees for tomorrow night's low is not anything that great, but it is double digits, mind you. Have a good weekend. Stay warm if you can, and make sure you tune in next week for more of Your News Today. We'll see you Monday. Good night.